I don't know about you guys, but there is something about a quarterback showing a ton of grit that just excites me. Like when they push through and carry their team through the finish line. Oh yeah, that's when you know you've got your guy. So today we're going over 5 of the toughest quarterback moments. But first, the only thing better than watching a quarterback be tough is watching them be tough in person. And if you want to do that for less money, then oh boy, am I glad to introduce today's sponsor, SeatGeek. They're the #1 rated ticketing app with more than 70,000 events. And you'll never have to worry about missing a live game because they put all their tickets from across the web on one convenient place, so you can be sure to get a good deal because they'll rate them on a scale from 1 to 10 to guarantee that. And you know I had to come through for you guys. Use my code PUNTS for $20 off your ticket at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code PUNTS. Make sure to click the link in the description and download the app so you don't miss a single game this season.
It'd be the line to get into the salty spittoon, the roughest, toughest sailor club ever to be built under the 7 seas.
Coming in with our 5th toughest quarterback moment, we're going to give it to Big Ben in a 2010 mid-season game. He would get the ball early in the first, facing one of the strongest defenses in the league that year, and on a 3rd down play, we would see a sack take Ben to his knees. And while it wasn't apparent at first what was giving him such a fuss, it becomes clear when he looks up, and goodness gracious, there is blood spitting out of his nose, and I'm not quite sure the bridge of his nose is supposed to be at that angle. And while most quarterbacks would have taken no time to figure out that they're sitting the rest of this game, especially with them already having locked in pretty much a playoff berth, and they were mostly reliant on their highest rated defense anyway, Big Ben decided to stick it out. And not just stick it out, but in a grindy matchup threw for 253 more yards and didn't miss a single snap with a broken nose that happened in the first quarter. That is incredibly tough, but as you're going to see, not quite tough enough to move him past number 5 on the list.
Grabbed underneath the helmet, a shot to the head, all those things.
Welcome to the salty spittoon. How tough are you?
How tough am I? How tough am I?
To follow that up, we're going to take you to number 4, where I have to reluctantly take you to the 2022 playoffs, where a young Patrick Mahomes was ready to attempt to win his 2nd Super Bowl in 4 years. But things were looking bleak when in the first quarter of the divisional round, he gets hit after a pass and somebody falls directly on his ankle. He sits out for a whopping 2 seconds before limping his way back onto the field, and we can tell he can't even put weight down on that leg as he moves. But he not only sits out for the grand total of a quarter before coming back in the 3rd, he also leads the Chiefs to victory. And if you think that's one of the toughest moments, you'd be right to be suspicious, but it doesn't end here, because against the Bengals, he comes out and hobbles his way to another victory, including a gutsy, wholehearted but half-able run for a 1st down to seal the game away as he gets late hit out of bounds before making it to the Super Bowl, where, would you believe it, but 2 minutes left in the first half and Mahomes would get another scramble attempt where Edwards would come through and wrap him up by the legs, greatly re-aggravating that injury like in a movie where the antagonist hits the protagonist's known wound. Once again, it looks bleak, but this would be Mahomes' flu game moment as he would throw for 90% completions and score on every single drive for the rest of that game to go and win. And look, he beat my Bengals, so you should know I'm firmly on the hating the current dynasty bandwagon, but it pains me to say that this was an incredibly tough moment for the young Patrick Mahomes, but I don't think it quite puts him in that top 3, at least not for me.
Tough am I? I had a bowl of nails for breakfast this morning.
Yes, so?
Without any milk.
To break into the top 3 is one of my favorite moments pretty much of all time, and it comes from Matthew Stafford. It's the Lions-Brown game in 2009. I know, the stakes are already incredibly high in this battle of behemoths, but this game was coming down to the final seconds as the Lions were down by 6 points to the Browns and Stafford was driving. Until this brutal hit after the throw by Mosley had Stafford assuming the Peter Griffin falling down the stairs pose on the ground. And while we all assumed that he would be out for the count as he could barely move his left arm, holy crap, what is he doing but hobbling back out to get the play call and run this little play action pass, find Pettigrew in the end zone for the touchdown and to win the game for the Lions. And Stafford was just an incredibly resilient quarterback as well, and this is just on top of the fact that he would go on to later play through fractured fingers, torn ligaments, and all sorts of things in his career. But that's almost nothing compared to what the top 2 guys were going to suffer through. It would make what Stafford just played through look like an absolute cakewalk.
Tough are you?
How tough am I?
Wow.
At number 2, you're probably at the edge of your seat trying to figure out which quarterback was going to get this spot, and you know it comes down to Johnny Unitas. Oh yeah, we're going way back to when people as a whole were probably just a little bit tougher. You had to be tougher to even play football because there was less player safety, and you're doing it for pay that would otherwise not justify the brutality of the game. But aside from the fact that he was working construction while playing semi-pro on the weekends to try to get a shot in the league, once he got there, this destructive game would make no exceptions for him. With a career littered with injuries to just about every part of his body, nothing comes close though to in 1958 Johnny Football would get gobsmacked by another Johnny from the Packers, where he would be hospitalized with 3 broken ribs and a punctured lung. For most, this sounds like a season, heck maybe even career-ending injury. But for Unitas, it would hardly keep him out for 4 games before limping his way back into action against the 49ers, where after going down 27-7, he would eventually lead them back to a 35-27 win, cementing his legacy very early on and often being referred to as one of the toughest quarterbacks to ever play. But not the toughest quarterback to ever play, because that would have to go to no other than...
How tough are you?
How tough am I? You got a new bottle of ketchup?
Sure.
Now, is anybody here going to even be the slightest bit surprised when I tell you that coming in at number 1 is Brett motherfucking Favre? Now, he's been in some hot water because, well, you probably already know, but today we're focusing just on his playing career, where he took the word tough and set a bar for what it meant to be tough so high that I don't think we're ever going to see a player attempt to reach it again. First, let's talk about the elephant in the room with Brett, and it's the record he holds for the most consecutive games played through, which is a whopping, get this, 321 straight games if you're including playoff games. I think what will be best to talk about how tough he really was isn't to talk about all the injuries he survived, but to talk about the one that finally sat him down. So let me set the stage. We are 297 regular season games into his career, about 19 seasons for anyone at home counting, and he had not missed a game. And the exact same week that Ben Roethlisberger would go out to break his nose, which we talked about just minutes ago, Brett Favre would be running, get hit from behind, and collapse down on him onto his throwing shoulder, and would take him out of the game. But the following week, when this 41-year-old quarterback would typically have bounced back after reports came out of numbness in his throwing arm, it was clear he would not be able to play. And even then, it was a game day decision. That's right, the only way Brett Favre would be forced to sit out a game was for him to not be able to hold the ball at all. So, across a career of severe pains, hip pointers, coughing up blood in a 1995 game against the Steelers, a broken thumb in 2003, being knocked unconscious 3 separate times in his career, a torn right bicep in 2008, a stress fracture in his left ankle, it was finally a sprained joint to his right shoulder, rendering his ability to throw the ball to literal 0 that would actually do him in. But I'd love to know what tough quarterback moments I may have missed. Consider subscribing, and peace.